Hi guys, welcome to INFOGIST TV. Today we'll be talking about certain persons who have contributed immensely to the growth of Nigeria. We can also refer to them as heroes past, living and dead. We'll be talking about Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. He was born in December 1912 in Bauchi State. His father, Yakubu Dan Zala, was of Geri, and his mother, Fatima Ina, was of Geri and Fulani descent. Balewa was a legislator in Kaduna under the Macpherson Constitution of 1951 and federal legislator nominated to Lagos to become Minister of Works in 1952. Later, he served as Minister of Transportation. As Prime Minister of Nigeria, Balewa from 1960 to 1961 doubled as Foreign Affairs Advocate of Nigeria. His portrait adorns the 5 Naira note, and the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University in Bauchi is named after him in his honor. We'll be talking about Ahmadu Bello, Ibrahim Bello. He was the Sardona of Sokoto, knighted as Sir Ahmadu Bello. He built northern Nigeria and served as its first and only premier from 1954 until his assassination in 1966. He was also the leader of the Northern People's Congress, the ruling party at the time, consisting of the Hausa Fulani elites. Bello masterminded the creation of Northern Nigerian Development Corporation, NNDC, Bank of the North, and Northern Nigerian Investment Limited. Bello initiated plans to modernize traditional Quranic education in Northern Nigeria. His greatest legacies was the modernization and unification of the diverse people of the Northern Nigeria. Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria is a monument named after him, and his portrait adorns the 200 Naira banknote. Eyo Eta, a Nigerian educationist and politician from Ibeno, Akwa Ibom State. He led the Eastern Government of Nigeria in 1951. He was among the earliest Nigerian students to study in the United States. He was a deputy national president of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, in the late 1940s and early 1950s. Ita was a member of the Youth and Education Movement, proprietor of West African People's Institute, Calabar, and National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC. He was elected vice president after the death of Herbert Macaulay. Ita left NCNC to form the National Independence Party, NIP, which became one of the 5 Nigerian political parties that sent representatives to the July 27, 1953 London Conference on Nigerian Constitution. Michael Imodu. He was a renowned Nigerian labor union leader from 1947 to 1958. Imodu was leader of various trade unions. He was president of All Nigerian Trade Union Federation, an effort at unification of various labor unions in the country. The Federation enjoyed initial success, incorporating 45 out of the 57 registered unions at the time. In 1986, Imodu was honored with the establishment of Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies, MINILS. The institute is one of its kind in West Africa. Joseph Sawan Taka. Senator Joseph Sawan Taka was a Nigerian politician from Benue State and a former Minister for Transport and later Communications under General Yakubu Gowon. He was one of the founding members of United Middle Belt Congress, a political organization dedicated to protecting and advocating for the country's Middle Belt. Taka was a nominated member to the Nigerian Constitutional Conference of 1957 and was also the representative of the Middle Belt Zone to the Henry Willings Commission of 1958. In 1958, he was appointed as a shadow minister of commerce. Thakur was an advocate of state creation to give political and economic power to minority groups. He supported the creation of a Middle Belt state before the republic was truncated. He resigned in 1974. He was elected senator for Benue East in 1979 and appointed chairman of Senate Committee on Finance and Appropriation, a position he held when he died on March 30th, 1980 at age 48. Chief Margaret Ekpo. Chief Margaret Ekpo was a Nigerian women's rights activist and social mobilizer. She was a pioneer female politician in the country's first republic and leading member of a class of traditional Nigerian women activists, many of whom rallied women beyond nations of ethnic solidarity. She later joined National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, as a platform to represent marginalized groups in the 1950s. She also teamed up with Funmilayo Ransome Kuti to protest killings at Enugu coal miners. The victims were leaders protesting colonial practices at the mine in 1953. Ekpo was nominated by the NCNC to the Regional House of Chiefs, and in 1954 she established the Aba Township Women's Association. As leader of the New Market Group, she was able to garner the trust of a large number of women in the township and turned it into a political pressure group. By 1955, women in Aba had outnumbered men voters in a citywide election. She won a seat to the Eastern Regional House of Assembly in 1961, a position that allowed her to fight for issues affecting women at the time. In 2001, Calabar Airport was renamed Margaret Ekpo International Airport. Hajiya Gamba Sawaba. She was a Nigerian women's rights activist, politician, and philanthropist. She served as the deputy chairman of the Great Nigerian People's Party and elected leader of the National Women's Wing of the Northern Element Progressive Union, NEPU. Sawaba had the support of emirs and British colonial authority. She was a campaigner against underage marriages, forced labor, and advocated for Western education in the North. Gambo made a name for herself when at a political lecture during her career in the North, she climbed up and spoke out in a room full of men. She was mentored by Funmilayo Ransome Kuti and traveled to meet her in Abeokuta years later. She is widely regarded as a pioneer of fighting for the liberation of Northern women. A general hospital in Kaduna and a hostel at Bayero University, Kano, are named after her. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Benjamin Azikiwe was born on November 16, 1904 and died May 11, 1996. Generally known as Zik of Africa, Azikiwe was the first president of Nigeria from 1963 to 1966. Considered the driving force behind the nation's independence. He came to be known as the father of Nigerian nationalism. Born to Igbo parents from Anambra State, Eastern Nigeria in Zungeru in Niger State, he traveled to the United States and attended Storer College, Columbia University, the University of Pennsylvania, and Howard University. He contacted colonial authorities with Pennsylvania and Howard. He contacted colonial authorities with a request to represent Nigeria at the Los Angeles Olympics. He returned to Africa in 1934, where he began work as a journalist to the Gold Coast. In British West Africa, he advocated Nigerian and African nationalism as a journalist and a political leader. Azikiwe became active in Nigerian Youth Movement, NYM, the country's first nationalist organization. He entered politics, co-founding the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, with Herbert Macaulay in 1944. Azikiwe became the council secretary general in 1946. He became Governor General on November 16, 1960, and became the first Nigerian named to the Privy Council of the United Kingdom when Nigeria became a republic in 1963. Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Chief Obafemi Awolowo was on March 6, 1909. He was born on March 6, 1909 in the Ijebu-Remo, Ekene, Ogun State. He attended Baptist Boys High School, BBHS, Abeokuta, and Wesley College, Ibadan. In 1927, he enrolled at the University of London as an external student and graduated with a degree of Bachelor of Commerce, Hons. He went to the UK in 1940 at the bar by the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple on 19th November 1946. In 1949, Awolowo founded the Nigerian Tribune, a private Nigerian newspaper which he used to spread nationalist consciousness among Nigerians. He played a key role in Nigeria's independence movement, the First and Second Republics, and the Nigerian Civil War in 1963. He was imprisoned for sedition and pardoned in 1966, after which he became a Minister of Finance. In recognition of all this, Awolowo was the first individual in the modern era to be named as the leader of the Yoruba, Asiwaju Awon Yoruba, or Asiwaju Omo Odua. Awolowo formed Action Group, where he led demands for a federal constitution, which was introduced in the 1954 Littleton Constitution, following primarily the model proposed by the Western Region delegation he led. Jaja Anocha Nwachukwu. Jaja Anocha Nwachukwu was born on January 1st, 1918 and died November 7, 1996. Nwachukwu attended the infant school at St. George's NDP Omointia in Bayuis, Abia State. He was Prince of Ngwaland. Nwachukwu was a Pan-Africanist and Nigerian statesman, lawyer, politician, diplomat, and humanitarian. He was the first Speaker of the Nigerian House of Representatives, as well as the first Nigerian ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations. Also, Nwachukwu was the first Nigerian Minister for Foreign Affairs. He was the first African medalist, laureate in oratory of Trinity College, Dublin, Ireland. He matriculated at Trinity College in 1939 and was elected executive member of the college. Historical Society in 1941. Nwachukwu practiced law in Dublin for 3 years before returning to Nigeria in 1947. He was a favored lecturer at Glover Memorial Hall, Lagos, where Nwachukwu provoked national controversies when he declared Lagos a no man's land, meaning that it was an all-Nigerian city, wherein all Nigerians were entitled to equal rights from 1959 to 1960. Nwachukwu was the first indigenous Speaker of the House of Representatives of Nigeria under his leadership at the United Nations. Both the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Police Force made their debuts in international peacekeeping under the auspices of the World Organization. Chief Anthony Enahoro. Chief Anthony Eromosele Enahoro was born on the 22nd of July 1923 and died on the 15th of December 2010. He was one of the Nigerian's foremost anti-colonial and pro-democracy activists. He was born the eldest of 10 children in Uromi in Edo State of Nigeria. His Esan parents were Anastasius Okotako Enahoro. He was born between 1900 and died in 1968, and Fidelia Victoria Enebokun, ne Ogbidi Okojie, was born in 1906 and died in 1969. Enahoro had a long and distinguished career in the media, politics, the civil service, and the pro-democracy movement. Educated at the Government School Uromi, Government School Owo, and King's College, Lagos, Enahoro became the editor of Nnamdi Azikiwe's newspaper, Southern Nigerian defender, Ibadan, in 1944 at the age of 21, thus becoming the Nigerian's youngest editor ever. He later became the editor of Zeke's Comment, Kano, in 1945 to 1949, associate editor of West African Pilot, Lagos, and editor-in-chief of Morning Staff between 1950 to 1953. During the Nigerian crisis that followed the 1966 coups, Enahoro was the leader of the then Midwest delegation to the ad hoc Constitutional Conference in Lagos. He later became Federal Commissioner, Minister for Information and Labor under the General Yakubu Gowon military government, 1967 to 1974. Federal Commissioner for Special Duties, 1975. He later became a member of the National Party of Nigeria, NPN, 1978 to 1983. He was the president, World Festival of Negro Arts and Culture, 1972 to 1975. Malam Aminu Kano. Malam Aminu Kano was born in the year 1920, April 17th, and died in April 17, 1983. He attended Katsina College and later went to the University of London's Institute of Education. He earned his teaching certificate after completing his studies at Katsina College. Aminu Kano joined the Northern Elements Progressive Union as a political platform to challenge what he felt was the autocratic and feudalistic actions of Northern government. He geared his attack on the ruling elites, including the emirs, who were mostly Fulanis. The potency of his platform was strengthened partly because of his background. His father was an acting Akali in Kano who came from a lineage of Islamic clerics. He sought to use politics to create an egalitarian northern Nigerian society. Chief Fumilayo Ransom Kuti. Chief Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was Chief Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, born Francis Abigail Olufumilayo Thomas in October 25th, 1900, and died between 13th April 1978. He was a Nigerian educator, political campaigner, suffragist, and women's rights activist, born in Abeokuta, Nigeria. Ransom Kuti was the first female student to attend the Abeokuta Grammar School. As a young adult, she worked as a teacher, organizing some of the first pre-school classes in the country and arranging literacy classes for low-income women. In 1932, Ransom Kuti helped establish the Abeokuta Ladies Club. The club focused on charity work, sewing, catering, and adult education classes, and its early members were mostly Christian, Western-educated women from the middle class. By the 1940s, however, the club moved in more political directions. Inspired by an illiterate friend who asked her for help learning how to read, Ransom Kuti began organizing literacy workshops for market women through the club, and she subsequently gained a greater understanding of social and political inequalities faced by many Nigerian women. In 1944, she developed a successful campaign to stop local authorities seizing rice from market women under false pretenses. Shehu Usman Aliyu Shagari. Without being a military personnel, the late Alhaji Shehu Usman Aliyu Shagari served in government of Nigeria uninterrupted between 1954 and 1975, then 1979 and 1983, when he was the country's first executive president. The only time he was not in government was the 6 months of Major General Johnson Thomas Omunakwe Agoyin Ironsi was when he was head of state, January 15, 1966 to July 29, 1966. He briefly worked as a teacher before entering politics in 1951 and was elected into the House of Representatives in 1954. At various times between 1958 through independence of Nigeria in 1960 and 1975, he held a cabinet post as federal minister. In 1954, Shehu Shagari was elected into his first public office as a member of the Federal House of Representatives for Sokoto West. He was at different times parliamentary secretary in 1958 to 1959 to the Nigerian Prime Minister Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and that year he also served as the Federal Minister for Commerce and Industries. Later, he served as the pioneer Federal Minister for Economic Development, Minister for Pensions, and the Federal Minister for Internal Affairs. And from 1965 up until the first military coup in January 1966, Shagari was the Federal Minister for Works, and in 1967, he was appointed as Secretary for Sokoto Province Education Development Fund. From 1968 to 1969, Shagari was given a state position in the northwestern state as Commissioner for Establishments. Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. Outsiders seem to think that Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, de facto second in command as Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters from 1976 to 1979, was very fortunate in both the military and political circle because of his elite background. This widespread impression is far from the truth. He was a gentleman and an officer. He was respected for his tact and discipline. He was very calculative. Born on March 5, 1943, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua was given the responsibility for the capture of Onitsha after 2 unsuccessful attempts by the Nigerian troops, which he did conveniently. An astute and calculative politician, his political structure covered the country. He had a national campaign directorate, and each state had its own campaign coordinator and ward mobilizers. Members of his campaign group included former PDP chairman Anthony Anene, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Minister Dapo Sarumi, Bola Tinubu, Abdullahi Aliyu Somalia, and Sunday Afolabi. He provided Chief NKO Abiola the platform which gave him victory in Jos Plateau State. Moshood Kashimo Olawole Abiola GCFR. Chief Moshood Abiola, also known as MKO Abiola, was a Nigerian businessman, publisher, and politician. He was the Are Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba land. Abiola ran for the presidency in 1993, for which the election results were annulled by the military president Ibrahim Babangida. Abiola was awarded the GCFR posthumously on June 6, 2018 by President Muhammadu Buhari, and Nigeria's Democracy Day was changed to June 12 in his honor. From 1972 until his death, Abiola had been conferred with 197 traditional titles by 68 different communities in Nigeria. In response to his having provided financial assistance and in the construction of 63 secondary schools, 121 mosques and churches, 41 libraries, 21 water projects in 24 states of Nigeria, and he was grand patron to 149 societies or associations across Nigeria. Abdulsalami Abubakar, GCFR. General Abdulsalami Alhaji Abubakar was born on June 13, 1942. Abubakar was a member of the pioneering set of officers cadets who enlisted into the Nigerian Air Force on October 3, 1963. From 1964 to 1966, he was flown to Uetersen, West Germany, with a team of officer cadets for basic and advanced military training. When he returned to Nigeria in 1966, he was seconded to the Nigerian Army. Although efforts were made to ensure that the elections were free and fair, there were widespread irregularities that drew criticisms from foreign observers. Surprisingly, surprising some critics of the country's military. In May 1999, General Abubakar handed over power to the newly elected civilian president Olusegun Obasanjo and retired from the army. Abubakar helped in the Liberian peace movement by presiding over the 2003 peace talks between Charles Taylor and the opposing rebels. He currently heads the National Peace Committee, which has ensured that the recent elections in the country have not exploded into crisis. Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan GCFR. If you thought Goodluck Ebele Jonathan will become an old fixture in Nigerian's political calculation after he lost the 2015 presidential election, you would be wrong. Since 2015, when he lost the presidential election, marking the first time in the history of Nigeria that an incumbent president had lost re-election and considered defeat, his fame has grown larger than the small confinement that many were wont to ascribe to him. Up to the point that he considered defeat to Buhari, Jonathan was considered a neophyte who did not have clout but just added up to the number. He defied all naysaying to become one of the greatest statesmen that have traversed the Fourth Republic. Born on November 20th, 1957 in Ogbeya, Bayelsa State, to a Christian family of canoe makers from the Ijaw minority ethnic group. He received a bachelor's degree in zoology, second-class honors, a master's degree in hydrobiology and fisheries biology, and a doctorate in zoology from the University of Port Harcourt. Before his entry into politics in 1998, he worked as an education inspector, a lecturer, and an environmental protection officer. Jonathan was instrumental in negotiating an agreement with many of the major militant groups in Niger Delta to lay down their arms and stop fighting as part of a government amnesty. On February 9, 2010, following a controversial doctrine of necessity from the Nigerian Senate, Goodluck Jonathan was named acting president due to President Yar'Adua's trip to Saudi Arabia in November 2009 for medical treatment. In accordance with the order of succession in the Nigerian constitution, following President Omar Yar'Adua's death on 5th May 2010, acting President Goodluck Jonathan was sworn in as the substantive president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on 6th May 2010. Chief Frederick Alade Williams. Chief Frederick Rotimi Alade FRA Williams, as popularly known QCSAN, was born on the 16th of December 1920 and died on 26 March 2005. He was a foremost lawyer, nationalist, and statesman. He was the first lawyer to adorn the SIC as Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN. His unflinching dedication to the rule of law for over 6 decades manifested in Williams' clear emergence as the foremost legal icon, a premius inter pares at the Nigerian bar. Throughout his practice years, he was graceful in his fine grasp of legal intricacies, erudition of the law, and dexterity of submissions. He was as complete in substantive law as he was in court processes and rules. He was also endowed with his distinctive courage that made him speak out on sensitive national issues, both as an individual and chairman of the Patriots, a non-political, non-governmental organization he co-founded. Chief Akintola Williams. He was born on August 9, 1919. A living legend at 101, is revered for his high level of professionalism and his record of achievements and legacies, which have made him the father of the accountancy profession in Nigeria in particular and in Africa in general. He was the first African to qualify as a chartered accountant. He began his education at Olowogbowo Methodist Primary School, Bankole Street, Apongbon, Lagos Island in the early 1930s. the same school his late younger brother, Chief F.R.A. Williams, attended. In 1965, Williams became one of the founding members and the first president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, a leading institute in Africa today. Also, as a catalyst of economic development and agent of positive change, Williams championed the establishment of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, NSE, in 1960, a market that he is actively involved in till date as an advisor to the operators. Major General Johnson Omunakwe Agui Ironsi was born on the 3rd of March 1924 and died on the 29th of July 1966. He was Nigeria's first military head of state. He seized power amidst the ensuing chaos following the January 15, 1966 coup, which decapitated the country's leadership. He ruled from January 16, 1966 until his assassination on July 29, 1966, by a group of mutinous officers who were led by Major Theophilus Danjuma. A revolt against his government in what was popularly called the July counter coup. He spent 194 days in office, the shortest of any military head of state, and is one of the 5 heads of state who died in office. The other 4 were Tafawa Balewa, Murtala Mohammed, Sani Abacha, and Omar Yaradua. Vice Admiral Joseph Edet Akinwale Way, Vice Admiral Joseph Edet Akinwale Way was born on March 6, 1918 and died on the 12th of December 1991. He was the first Nigerian Chief of Naval Staff. The former Nigerian national soccer team left back to join the Marine Department in 1939 as a trainee junior technical assistant. When the Navy was established in 1956, he crossed over into the Navy in 1957 and was commissioned in 1958. A Vice Admiral of the Nigerian Navy, he served at various times as head of Nigerian Navy, Chief of Naval Staff, Acting Foreign Minister, and Chief of Staff of the Supreme Headquarters, making him the de facto Vice President of Nigeria during Yakubu Gowon's regime. Chief Louis Orok Edet was born in 1914 and died in 1979. He was the Inspector General of the Nigerian Police Force from 1964 to 1966 and the first Nigerian to occupy the position. He was briefly the chairman of the Nigerian Football Association in the early 1960s. On retirement after the 1966 coup, he was appointed recruitment attaché in the Nigerian High Commission in London between 1966 to 1968. After the Civil War, he returned to Nigeria and was made Commissioner for Home Affairs and Information in the then southeastern states between 1968 to 1972. Major General Abdullahi Mohammed. Major General Abdullahi Mohammed was the pioneer Director General of the National Security Organization from 1976 to 1979, created under Decree No. 27 of 1976 by the military regime of General Olusegun Aremu Okikiola Obasanjo after the failed Dinka coup, which claimed the life of Murtala Mohammed. The NSO was given a mandate of coordinating internal security, foreign intelligence, and counterintelligence activities. He also served as Chief of Staff to President Olusegun Obasanjo and Umaru Musa Yar'Adua from 1999 to 2008. National Security Advisor to General Abdulsalam Abubakar from 1998 to 1999, and Governor of Benue and Plateau State from July 1975 to February 1976 during the military regime of General Murtala Mohammed.